with several days of this. And several more days of this. We get to this. I wanted to throw a little footnote in here before we get started. It appears that it's going to be an update more so than a clutch install. I ran into a little problem, unforeseen problem, and I won't be able to correct it until Monday. So for now, I'll show you the video that I do have, and I'll kind of explain everything toward the end, and you can see what I'm dealing with. But anyway, I'll show you. This is Saturday morning, and today is the day the transmission's going back in. Let me run through this real quick before all the pieces go back onto the truck. So I probably won't show the transmission going into the truck, but this will kind of give you an idea of the pieces. And if you end up changing a clutch on your, I guess it'd be Eaton Fuller 6-speed. I'm not sure if the other ones use the same clutch disc. I will show a link down in the description, and it has different part numbers for the clutch assembly. So let me show you the old one. This one here is the original one to come out of it. I think it's rated at 850 foot-pounds of torque, and it's a 3-puck. You can see the 1, 2, and 3, and then flywheel's been surfaced, and then there's the bell housing there. I made an inspection cover on the bottom because it was just open, and then here is the transmission, just a standard Eaton Fuller 6-speed. They put new seals in it, new gaskets in it. They checked all the different bearings, all the gears on it. Everything was good on it. And I think somebody had been through it prior, back in 2011 or so. But there was one gear that I replaced just because, and I'll show you that here in a second. So here's the new clutch. Let's see if I can open the box. This is the new clutch assembly, and you can see right off it's a 4-puck system. And oh, let me show you. This is 1 3/4 input shaft, 10 spline, and then it uses a 1-inch pilot bearing. So it's a beefy unit. This clutch here, it's got, as I mentioned, 4 pucks on it, and it's rated at 1,450 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a beefy clutch, and the guys at the transmission shop mentioned that the transmission would probably break before the clutch gave up. So some might ask why, here's the centerpiece, but some might ask, why would you go with a larger clutch if the transmission would break? So I went with a larger clutch. They're called easy pedal clutches, so it doesn't increase the resistance or the amount of pressure that you need to push the clutch pedal in. So I went with the larger clutch, heavier clutch, because it was the same price, exactly the same price. So there was no big deal on that. So I can do that later. Here's the only thing they found that was different. This is 5th gear itself. So the gear teeth itself look just fine, but if you look at the synchro rings, or the synchro teeth, you can see how it's kind of grooved away on there. As I understand it, it's supposed to look like a rooftop. They're supposed to be pointed. So this may have been reused at one point, and the guys at the shop said it was probably just fine because they engage further inside. And then he looked up the cost for the gear, and it was only like $77, so I just opted to replace it. And then so now I'll have a nice paperweight. I think the transmissions on the truck use a 12-inch disc, 12-inch clutch, and this one here is a 14 or 14 1/4. I forget what it is. Anyway, so it is a larger diameter clutch. said, I doubt I'll make the amount of torque that it's rated for, but it's just a larger clutch. It'll have a longer life on it. Plus, I don't beat on them anyway. So I'm spun up on coffee, so I'm a little bouncing all over the place. We've had rain here for the last few days, actually the last week, so the ground is really wet, and I'm not going to be able to use the forklift to set the or to pull the transmission up through the floor pan. So we'll have to use a transmission jack and lift it up that way. But that's today's adventure. So like I said, I won't have the camera underneath the truck while we're putting it in, and things are it's kind of dark under there anyway. But that leads into the next activity. So December, toward the end of December, first part of January, I actually have what they call a winter break. So I've got a bunch of days off. So I'm going to do a bunch of other work on the truck, and I'll take you guys along with me. One of the things I noticed while I was underneath the truck is that, or when the transmission was out, is that the rear main seal was leaking. I have replaced that since then, and then I noticed the tappa cover on the driver's side is also leaking, and that's pretty standard for them. The engine, or the odometer, says 214,000 miles, and I believe that is the actual mileage of that engine. And so I'm going to replace the tappa cover, and as you know, you have to remove the fuel pump and all the fuel lines to get to it. So while I'm in there, I'm going to replace the factory lift pump with an aftermarket one, because they have had issues in the past, and just to avoid that, or we'll call it preventive maintenance. So, and then also with the killer dowel pin, hi puppy. With the killer dowel pin, I'm going to replace that while I got it apart, or I'll go into that just to make, I know this is not the common years for them, but I'm going to change it just because I have everything apart. And while I'm at it, I'm going to swap in a Hamilton cam. If you go to the Hamilton website, I will put their link also down below. I've got the towing economy one, 178,208. You can take a look at that, and that'll be another job. And then I'm looking at putting oh, my help is here. I'm looking at putting head studs in, and I'm going to do a cylinder head with O-rings. So anyway, I got to go get the gate. After my help showed up, we got started on putting the clutch together. Got the flywheel in, it's ready to go. All the bolts are torqued, and then we started working on the pressure plate, getting that set up. It's I think they said the whole kit's 75 pounds. So so one of the things I noticed, we were setting the old pressure plate next to the new one, and hi, I got a visitor. Hi. I was setting the I set the old pressure plate next to the new one, and I'm going to come up with a couple of differences here. So here's the new one here. It's cast iron, and the other one is a stamped steel. Now supposedly there's the same thing. The height is the same on them between the throwout bearing, but you can see this one here, there's a gap there versus that one is flush on the bottom. So they're both a dual disc setup. Here's the two old discs, and this is where the main problem is. This is the center plate, and you can see it has held on with a rivet and a strap that allows it to flex. I don't know if you can see the flexing there, but the biggest problem, or the biggest thing, is it uses the bolt holes. So the bolts that hold the pressure plate to the flywheel. So let's see if we can do this. Here's the bolts for the, I'm sorry, that one there. The pressure plate bolts goes through here, and it bolts to the flywheel. So when you come over to this one here, it also has the bolts, but the ring here is entirely different. So when I called the place to order the clutch, I asked them for a higher torque, and they asked me if I wanted the heavy duty one. Well, there is a heavy duty, but the heavy duty is what they call the big class 8 trucks, the big semi trucks. So even though this is a medium duty, they have a heavy duty for the medium duty, Say that fast 10 times. So what I actually need is the other one, and this one will not work on it. So I guess the flywheel on the heavy duty trucks, it's a tall flywheel, 3 to 4 inches tall, and then there is some sort of, I don't even know what you'd call it, some sort of post or something on the inside of the flywheel that this piece here drops down onto, and then the pilot shaft is actually what keeps the clutch disc in place. So this one will not work. It will not work for my application. So I called the local transmission shop. They were open for another half hour, this being a Saturday. And then the problem with living on the outside of town is you have to go into town to get to them. And then the freeway was all backed up. So it was a parking lot, so I could not get to them. So I'm stuck till Monday. So that's why I said it's more of an update than anything. And then one of the issues I'd have to deal with on the coming week is Monday it's supposed to start raining again, so I don't know. I'm going to do a little bit every night and probably end up getting wet doing it, but so that's all I got for you right now. It's like I said, it's an update. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that subscribe button. Leave comments down below, and I'll have more update for you probably next week, maybe on the weekend or so. And hopefully I can get some work done in between range hours during the week.